Okay, welcome everybody. Um, all right, sorry we're starting late today. I'll wait for everybody to join to tell you the story. It's not such a fancy story anyway, but I'll tell you the story in a couple of minutes when everybody's coming in. So anyway, this is the portion of Shemot. And when we are translating the word Shemot, it's the names. And you know, I'm coming from an Israeli background, and although not very religious from where I'm coming, how I was brought up, um, but never would we stop and ask the question, um, you know, what does it mean, Parashat Shemot? Parashat Shemot, what is the meaning? And a lot has to do with the story of Exodus, and we pay more attention, you know, to the story and, you know, and to the literal aspect, the midrash, which is basically like the counting of the story. But never should we stop and and ask the question, wait a second, Parashat Shmot is the portion of the names. What names are we talking about? And if you're not into spirituality or Kabbalah, there is no way that somebody is gonna come and he's gonna say, you know, we're talking about holy names, we're talking about a technology that you can use to transform your life, the 72 names. God forbid we should talk about something that should bring freedom to our existence, because you know, if we find the freedom, then we don't need any type of organized anything, right? Because as long as we are needing somebody or a group of somebodies, then you know, something that's gonna make us sort of like the trampoline or the connection to our connection. In other words, when we're speaking about you know, the portion of Shemot in the way that the Zohar, and anybody can grab the Zohar today, and if you wish, if you want to really understand what this is all about, it's to realize that, you know, we are holding in this one book of Shemot, in this one book of Exodus, the secret of life. And the secret of life is that the connection that is given to us, that is delivered to mankind, is the freedom from anything that could be controlling us. And we can talk about physical, emotional, spiritual, esoterical, mystical opponents, right? That could stand between us and the light force of the Creator. Parashat Shemot is, for those who really wanted to know what it's about, it is how we are to set ourselves free from anything that stands between me and the accomplishment of my full potential. And so I'll give you a very, very kind example, but we can just maybe like relate it to ourselves, where our happiness might be dependent on something or somebody. And my success might be dependent on something or somebody, or when I'm going to learn enough, or when I'm going to get this certificate, when I'm going to get this expertise. I'm speaking to somebody who is like over 30 years into spirituality, and she has everything that she needs in her hands and in her head and in her heart to be the most amazing teacher. And she is, in my opinion, an incredible soul. But the low self-esteem is driving that person to not believe in herself enough and to add all these conditional, I would say, challenges, challenge number one, challenge number two, that would be the keys to her success. So she needs now a coaching thing. She needs to see a specialist. She needs to see a business coach. She needs to see a lawyer. She needs to, and if you would know the person the way that I know her, and to which I told her already many times, you don't need anything to be successful besides you. You just need you to be successful, wanting to be successful, knowing that you're successful, to establish that connection between who you are and the ultimate accomplishment of who you are. Because she is, in my eyes, she is. So if a person is already an accomplished fact for at least one individual, it's already there. You know, you can be like in all the situations where you say, oh, this guy is great potential, right? That's a big difference. That's a big difference where your gut feeling is telling you about your son or your neighbor or your husband or wife or whoever else. She has a great potential, but huge gap between where the person is today to where the person could arrive tomorrow. But then there are people that are already there. And you're like, what's stopping you? You're already like so amazing. It's enough for you to just open the door for, you know, for everything to be showered at you. So we're starting the new portion of the second book. I don't know if it's going to be enough for the people that are, for most of us that are still under, I would say, the illusion that we still need something or somebody to be successful, or that we need something or somebody to remind us that we're truly happy from within. You're happy from within. Your soul is happy. Your soul is endless, and your soul is a spark of the light, and the soul is everything. But still, every moment of the day that we are pushed as far as possible from feeling like our soul feels all the time, this is what the Parashat Shmot is about. I could just close the book and this is it. Because the portion of Shmot is about the exile of the mind. The soul is not in exile. The soul is always with the light. But it is us bridging the current state of our mind with our potential state of what we are capable to accomplish, but our fears and our low self-esteem and our fallings and our doubts and self-doubt, all those things that are stopping us. Anyway, let's say a few words from the Zohar. Vele Shmot Bnei Israel, and those are the names of Israel. הוגשה לו שהכתוב מתחיל בישראל וגומר ביעקב. So he's starting from Israel, which we covered already. Israel is the name for Jacob. It's a code for Jacob. וגומר ביעקב, and ends in Jacob. וכן מה עניין גלות מצרים בפנימיות. See, those are the kind of questions that I like and that we should be asking. So what is this whole purpose? What is this about the whole existence about the exile in Egypt internally. The last word is the most important question of all. What is this whole ordeal with the Egyptian exile inside of us? So, most of the interpretation would go and, tell the story and the explanations about the exile in Egypt from the religious aspect, right? From the literal aspect. Where the Zohar here is saying clearly, it has nothing to do with the story. What does he have to do with you inside? Where is it that inside of you are you disconnected? So we could say you're disconnected from the light, you don't have the right consciousness. We can start, with all the taglines. As we are becoming experts, in being a student of Kabbalah, it sort of like plays against us because we're using those taglines. Where are you in exile? Isn't that simple? Where are you disconnected? Where are you not in connection with the soul's calling, with your soul's calling, with your truth? Where is it? And we have been building ourselves to that from the moment that Joseph got sold, and then Reuven was there, the eldest of the brothers, and he didn't do anything, or he didn't do the right thing, and then Yehuda could have done something, but he didn't, and he waited, for Benjamin to, almost repeat the story, but then he stood up to Joseph. In other words, Malchut inside of us is taking action, stepping up to what is rightly ours. Truth, reason, right and wrong. How many times a day am I settling for less with what is true to me? To please something, to please somebody, to please the kids, to please my wife, to please my spouse, my neighbors, my family. But it's not right for me. When am I and where am I living somebody else's truth rather than mine? This is to be in exile. Where is it that you're not happy and you're settling for less? Where is it that you're lying to yourself or you're lying to others because right now you're comfortable or you're safe? I've had this conversation just a few days ago. The striking revelation that you have lived in a relationship for 25 years, and it was for financial security, and it wasn't because of love. Initially, maybe afterwards it builds up to something. But can you imagine if the seed level of anything, of any relationship, is with the wrong intention? What is the wrong? It's not exactly the wrong intention, it's disguised intention. It's where you're saying A, but you're feeling B. Does it make sense what I'm telling you? That you're feeling A, but you're making it look like you feel B. So it can be in a romantic relationship, or it can be in a work environment. It can be, for the sake of the kids, playing it as if you're strong and your health is strong, and actually it's not. I've known somebody that is not with us today. For like 15 years, he hid it from his family that he had the cancer. And when I'm talking about the family, I'm talking about his spouse and his kids. Yeah, he revealed the some, but not everything. I mean, it's a heavy question. Where is it that you live in a line? Where is it that you are in exile? That you're not true to yourself. I could keep on talking about like this one word for the remainder of our session. I'm not going to do that, but so much to say about just this one word. Bapnimiyut, internally, inside of you, where is it that you are exiled in Egypt? The exile in Egypt might have happened, in the 1%, in the physical reality. They might find, the Noach Ark, and they might find like all sorts of things like historically that happen, and, like archaeologists have find all sorts of things. We're not talking here about the story, the physical story, because look what the Zohar tells us. And this book has been written 2,000 years ago, not 30 years ago. This is not the author of Harry Potter. This is from 2,000 years ago, telling us the story about Egypt is internal. It's internal. ועל זה מביא הכתוב, והמשכילים יזהירו וגומר, שאם ביור הכתוב הזה יובאו השאלות הנזכר לעיל. Which would lead, just asking this question would lead to so many more questions. Okay, I really don't want to get into all the different levels of light, the tzimtzum, the rakia, it's just gonna like fly above our head. Okay, I gotta read that, even if it's it's not gonna make totally sense, but there can be a coincidence because I was watching something yesterday, and it's just strikingly similar to what I was watching online on a Facebook video. ותננן רבי שמעון, אמר רבי שמעון. ולמדנו, אמר רבי שמעון, and so we learned, said רבי שמעון, באותה שעה קרא הקדוש ברוך הוא לכל החבורה שלו, and so at the same, in one hand, the creator called his entire congregation, וכל המרכבות, and all the chariots, והמחנות, and all the camps, ושוריו, כל צבאות השמיים, and all the hierarchies in the upper world, ואמר להם, מה אתם עושים כאן? What are you doing here? ומה בני אהובי בגלות בבל ואתם כאן? What is it that you are all doing here and all my people are in Bavel, Babylon? קומו רדו כולכם לבבל, stand up, all of you, and go down to Babylon, ואני עמכם, and I am with you. זהו שכתוב, כה אמר השם וגומר, which is related to one of the sentences from the Torah. למענכם שלחתי בבלה. So that with you, I sent you to Babylon. זהו הקדוש ברוך הוא. והורדתי בריחים כולם, אלו הם כל המרכבות והמחנות העליונים. And so, in relation to what I was saying, I'm fascinated personally with everything that has to do with UFOs. It's very like, esoterical, mystical, all sorts of things that are spoken about in the Zohar. And this is a perfect example of what came down on Earth. This is not about, like UFO conspiracy theories. We're talking here about levels of consciousness, levels of beings that are not physical. They're not like, like alien, like ETs, right? Like the movie. We're talking here about angels and supernal forces such as that. And for those who still doubt that we're being influenced by angelical forces at all time, well, this is what the Zohar tells us, basically. The same as there is all sorts of orders and hierarchies and governments in this physical reality, so there is also in the supernal world. And each one of them, and there is a word that reminds us that, and that word is the Omdim. And so when we're talking about angels, we're talking about the Omdim. I was making reference to that like maybe 1 or 2 sessions ago. And the human beings, they're called the Olchim. So what was sent down to the Tower of Babylon was supernal forces, of supernal beings. And so the story, true, not true, distorted, coincidental, doesn't matter. Like what I was watching, just the fact that humanity is even suggesting those things, and this, even if it's like, like a UFO channel or whatever, you still had very very official people on this video, like the Prime Minister, the ex-foreign minister of Canada. You had like, like NASA people, you had like commanders, like people that I know by name that actually, were talking in front of the Senate, and I couldn't believe what was coming out of their mouth. Like I was like, what's going on? What are those people saying? And they were basically saying that, like everything that you could hear about UFOs and alien lives, and that we're already in communication, but they are very careful. They're very careful with revealing to us their technology, because they see what we do with our own existing technology and how we are killing each other. That killing each other stems directly, and they were making a mention of the Tower of Babylon. That is like written in the Torah, what happened in a direct intervention from higher beings that the Zohar is mentioning here. So the Zohar is not calling them UFOs or aliens. The Zohar calls them the supernal realms and the soldiers of the light and the kingdom and the governments of the upper world all came down because we are an entity. We are creatures that are almost destined to self-destruct. And so if you are still wondering, why is it that we're not in direct connection with the angels? Forget about like aliens and UFOs. Why is it that we're not in direct connection with the Creator and everything else? Why? Because the human race, even though there is the soul within each one of us, the body consciousness is the one that is most of the time overruling the soul's consciousness, and is the one that was manipulated to destroy each other. on the Tower of Babylon. What is it that they have accomplished in the Tower of Babylon? What they have accomplished in the Tower of Babylon, which came after the story of Noah, after the story of the flood, is that they came as one people. They came as one people, unified, and they have reached such level of consciousness and revelation that they believed that they were as powerful as God. And so the story says, oh, so God, freaked out, excuse my French, and then came down and put a stop to it. But then all the classes that we teach, the books that we write, is how to become like God. Isn't that a bit confusing? So wait a second. We're trying to become like God, but guys, once you're going to become like God, God is going to destroy us. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. And so something happened in there that maybe we would not get like the full revelation of what it was, but something happened in there that probably would have created chaos to some level or another. Maybe we were not ready for the amount of revelation that those people, us people, revealed at that time. You can put a human being in any event, any environment, and that human being is going to evolve to become self-sufficient. We're not only a smart creature, but we are also by nature very connected. And by nature, we are always connected. It's just a matter of what is it that we're connected to. So in this paragraph, the Zohar makes mention to those creatures from the upper world, and we would like to associate those creatures to good angels, but the same as there is a kingdom of good angels, there are also a kingdom or kingdoms, realms of negative angels. How much control do we get at the end of the day? I'm not exactly sure, because every single time that you get like an aha moment or you get an idea, if you are wasting any time thinking, wow, I'm so bright and I'm so smart, you're wasting time. Why? Because every idea that is, floating in the air, it's not ours to begin with. The only power that we have been given is free will. So you will be presented with good and bad and right and wrong, and it is the choice that makes you human. It's not tuning in a super idea that's going to make you successful. It is that in this given moment, you made the right choice. How many times before that did you make the wrong choice? Because we were bombarded right and left by doing this, by doing that, A, B, or C, we would translate it as human beings as right and wrong, but from the supernal reality, there is no right and wrong. There is just one reality. And it is the reality where you're regaining dominion over your desire to receive for the self alone, and you elevate above that to connect to this reality that is called the upper world. But just striking for me that I just read this paragraph, and this is just a video that I was watching yesterday. In the story yesterday, they're saying that those aliens, they are most interested in our nuclear power. Not that they don't have the technology, but it is mainly the reason why they don't want to give us any other higher technology, because look what we've done with nuclear technology. With a nuclear race, like each, super country, superpower has like over 20,000 heads on a single day, branding it as a flag of a threat. If you move, it would take me a click of a button to shoot you down. We are a threatening, scary creature. And if there is a reason why anything out there is not going to feel comfortable coming to us and say, hey, by the way, we have all these guns and all these weapons and all these teleport and all these, mind control tricks and telepathy. Can you imagine? You can know at every given moment. I have this device that right now, as I look at you, I see a bubble above your head and I know what you're thinking. How many of you would be in trouble right now? Starting with me. So imagine those aliens, they don't speak words. They read minds. Aliens, we're not talking here about aliens. We're talking about us. We're talking about you. When you're in a meditative state, theta state, when you're in a sleepy zone, you don't travel with the words and with physical limbs. You travel and you communicate and you go back and forth in time. You speak different languages just with your mind. Just with your mind. It is only in this physical reality that we are limited with our five senses and with our rational mind that tells us we cannot. But our ultimate self is already there. Doesn't need all these physical things. We mentioned earlier, almost in every session, I like to repeat it because we forget. The near-death experience, when they go to the other side and then they come back, they say, how much love? And they come back and they count the stories, they tell us the stories. Batya Solomon, she had the coronavirus and she tells the story on the internet, on classes. It's very inspiring because she says, like on the other side, there is no religion. What do you mean there is no religion? There is no organized religion. It's just between you, your soul, and you feel connected to every single human being as if it was you. Endless love. There is not even a need to add compassion, forgiveness, not being there is no need, because the only thing that really counts is love. The only thing that counts. You don't even need compassion in a place where there is love. You need compassion where there is judgment. Did you ever think about that? You don't need to be a compassionate person if you only have love in your heart. But then you need to read books, you need to do trainings, you need to do all sorts of different things to learn how to become, more empathetic, to feel other people's pain. We don't need that if all we have in our heart to begin with, it's in there. It's covered by all the layers, and until we would die probably, we wouldn't see the full extent of it. And the full extent of it is that all we need is love. Right? It's not just a song. It's incredible. It's actually a very spiritual song, if you think about it. כשירדו לבחול נפתחו השמיים. So when they came down, the skies open. ורוח נבואה הקדושה שרתה על יחזקאל. And a wind of prophecy, of holy prophecy, came down on the prophet יחזקאל. וראה כל מה שראה ואמר להם לישראל. And he saw what he saw, and then he told the people of Israel. הרי אדוניכם כאן, telling the people, the Creator is here. The Creator is right here. וכל צבאות השמיים והמרכבות. and all the soldiers and all the orders of the Creator are here. Sheba'u ledor imachem, that came to be with your generation. Ad shenitztaroch legalot kol ma shera'a, until we are going to be able to reveal everything that there is to be revealed. והרי כך והרי כך. ואם גלה ביותר, כל מה שגלה נצטרך כולו. And it says here, very interesting, it was revealed just about what could have been revealed. It means that the entire truth cannot be revealed to us. We cannot handle from where we are in our physical reality. Our mind, it's like connecting our mind to a 20 gazillion volt in one split of a second. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the fuses to not just, and it's not an insult to anybody, and it's not, putting you in a place of, oh, you're so limited. No, it's just, accepting the reality that we are in, that when the universe is trying to wash us out of all our dirt so that we can receive more light, the universe is consistently trying to play the role of a plumber. Our pipes are clogged by anger and judgment and self-doubt. And he's trying to send through all these different tests and challenges in order to release the clogged pipe. And we're holding on to the clogged pipe. We're holding on to the resentment. We're holding on to our limited, extremely limited truth. How do you want me to forgive with what this person did? Really? Do you know? Do you remember what this person did? Honestly, most of the times we forget what people did. We are still remembering that we're upset, we're angry at the person. Don't ask me. Like, who are you to ask me? In truth, we don't even remember why we're upset. We remember that we're upset, and this is what we're hanging on to. This is what the universe is presenting us with, all different challenges and people and tests and obstacles to push our buttons. And it's always the same button. The universe is telling us, come on, I'm trying to show you a little bit more truth about yourself, but you're not going to be able to go to the next level if you're not capable to handle this one. What do you mean? After 20 years of Kabbalah, and I'm scanning Zohar, and I'm praying daily, and I'm doing all those things, I'm very spiritual. Yes, you're very spiritual, but when it comes to practicing spirituality, where are you? This is why the Zohar, remember the first question in this portion that the Zohar is asking, where is it that you are? Where is the Egyptian exile in your heart? Where is the Egyptian exile in your heart? And it doesn't have to be just one. I have a few Egyptian exiles. And each one of them is playing its role. But it is playing its role because the universe and all those merkavot and all these angels and all these orders of the light force of the Creator are sent to me. Can you believe? Like, I'm drawing so much attention from the upper world that is like investing so much in sending me this guy and this guy and this guy to upset me, to make me feel that it's unfair and it's not right. And are we not missing the point that we make it about the person that is pushing my buttons? The Creator is sending us all these channels that are playing a role to get me closer to what is a holier, higher truth. But every time that I'm connected to or connecting to the malchut, to the 1%, to the physical reality, to the storyline truth, I can connect to the higher truth. What is the lesson in this? What What is the universe trying to teach me? How is that experience serving me? כיוון שראו ישראל, את זה שמחו. And from the moment that the children of Israel saw, they were happy. I mean, further down the line in the story, it says about on Mount Sinai, and they saw the voices. This is what it says here. So I'm just using the same words. כיוון שראו ישראל את זה, שמחו. From the moment that they saw, they were happy. This is great news, isn't it? From the moment that you will see the holy truth, you'll be happy, right? Wrong. This is the reason why we're still in exile. The story, it's a metaphor, but there was a guy, every other week he would experience a miracle, huge miracle. That's always related to a member of his family, his aunt, his father, his mother, his cousin, his neighbor, his client, his this. Always like, stories like that, falling sick, a car accident, and the outcome could be like terrific, horrible. And that was like the time that, the Rav was, still with us, pre-stroke. And this student would keep on getting like all these miracle stories. It was abnormal. So some would say, wait a second, isn't that what we want to see? Well, that also reminds us the story that the Rav used to say, a miracle also happened to me today. After a student told the Rav, another guy told the Rav about a miracle story, true miracle story. Car accident, the car is a wreck, and then he comes out of the car and not a scratch. Miracle. And the Rav answers, wonderful. I also had a miracle story today. Nothing happened. And so, which leads us again back to this guy who is like keeping on getting like all these miracles. You know what the Rav's answer was? He's getting all these miracles because he needs to be reminded. He needs to be reminded. And so they saw, and they were happy. They were not happy and then they saw. They saw and then they were happy. Which brings us again to what we were discussing at the beginning of this class. First we need to see and then we would be happy. First we need to get support, coaching, somebody to be there with me. And then we would believe a little bit more in us. You don't need anything and anybody to be happy and to be successful and to feel connected. You are connected. You think about success, you don't need success. Like your soul is endless. You don't need to be successful. Although I'm not telling you to give up everything and to just be like a lazy bum. No. Like this is like literally to be in two places at the same time. Work on your hobbies, on what makes you happy, that's great. But to begin with, the seed level, the essence of you is already accomplished and is already happy. And so if you're seeking for another encounter that's going to make you happy, it's going to make you feel safe, to be with somebody is not necessarily going to make you feel safe. If the reason is to be safe, likely the chance you're going to end up with somebody that's going to make you feel unsafe. Why? Because the essence is that you feel that you're not safe. Are you with me? So it's wonderful. כיוון שראו ישראל את זה, שמחו. And they saw and they were happy. וכששמעו הדברים, כפי יחזקאל, and when they heard the words from יחזקאל, לא פחדו על גלותם כלל. They were not scared anymore of their exile. כי ידעו שהקדוש ברוך הוא לא יעזוב אותם. They knew that the Creator is not going to leave them. We're still in exile, by the way, yes? How is it that we know that we're still in exile? We're still not connected to the truth, to the divine truth. We still get reactive, we still have low self-confidence and have doubts and uncertainty and fear. We lose our temper and control. This is how we know that we're still in exile. This is not to put us down or to make us feel depressed, but just to make things clear. We're still in exile, just in case you thought that Messiah consciousness came in just for you. Okay? That's great. You can have understanding. You can have feeling great when you study and when you pray. Amazing. This is not when our spirituality is being tested. Our spirituality is tested when things happen and how we handle them. It's how we are activating our free will. The study is the means to the end, which is to help us making better choices. ולמדנו בכל מקום שגלו ישראל, גלתה עמהם השכינה. So to every place that they went, you know, the Shekhinah was with them. וכאן בגלות מצרים, מה כתוב? And so when we're talking about the exile of Israel, or the exile of Egypt, ואלה שמות בני ישראל וגומר. And so this is about the portion of this week. ואלה שמות בני ישראל, and these are the names of the children of Israel. ושואל, and he's asking, כיוון שכתוב בני ישראל, when he's writing בני ישראל, the children of Israel, למה כתוב את יעקב? Why is it written to יעקב? היה צריך לומר, it was necessary to say, הבאים אותו הוא משיב, אלא אלה שמות בני ישראל, הם המרכבות ומחנות העליונים שירדו עם יעקב ביחד עם השכינה בגלות מצרים. To say that when we're referring to the Shemot, when we're referring to the names of the children of Israel, we're not talking about the people, we're talking about the Markevot v'machanot ha'elyonim. We're talking about the ranks, and we're talking about these entities from the upper world, the soldiers of the Creator that came down to be with Jacob and together with the Shekhinah, which is the female aspect of the Creator, in the exile of Egypt. The greatest of exile is the exile of Egypt. And although we can't really comprehend, we can tell the story or we can try to explain what the Zohar says, but imagine that those people were the generation that would live to be all of them prophets. All of them connecting to the reality of divine truth. They saw the voices. They saw the voices. From the children to the servants, to the elders, to the men, to the women, to elderly, everybody saw the angels. Everybody saw the higher ranks and the hierarchies and the archangels. They saw the voices. But still, we're talking about that same generation that was in exile, the greatest of exiles. So as much as they were connected, they were disconnected. Because imagine that you have the greatest ability to end the world's tikkun, the spiritual work, the karma for each one of us. and you fail miserably because of self-doubt, because of blame. We're going to go into the entire story about Moses, right? If freedom, first of all, they didn't want to be freed from Egypt, which is another take into the exile, that you're in exile and you don't want to get out of it. You don't want to get out of it. Bad relationship, bad work environment, you're holding on to upsetness and resentment and fear and whatnot, and you don't want to leave that place. Or the people around you, why don't you just let it go? And you're like, what do you mean? I've been trying for 10 years. So when we are looking at the aspect of the story from the outside, it's simple for us to say, oh, well, why isn't she just letting go? Why isn't she just moving on? Her ex-husband married, with somebody else 2 months later. She's still at it 5 years later. This is the exile we're talking about. People do not want to live. So this is her exile, yes? What's your exile? This is the first question. I didn't ask it, the Zohar asked it. What is your exile? That you refuse to live. You don't want to live. All the rest of the areas where you're doing great, there's no spiritual work to do there because it's effortless. Where it is becoming challenging, where just to think about it makes you sweat, that's your spiritual work. But that's my, I don't want to do it. Of course you don't want to do it. That's the spiritual work. It's the work that you don't want to do. And that's the exile. אלה שמות בני ישראל, הם המרכבות ומחנות העליונים שירדו עם יעקב כיוון. So every single time that you're being challenged, all those markevot, all those angels, all those archangels, all the Shekhinah is with you. It is there with you to give us the guidance, to give you the guidance. Are we willing to be helped? Finally, the Israelite, again as a code, us, came out of Egypt, freed by Moses, and every other paragraph, they want to kill Moses. They want to kill him like 100 times. They want to take him out of being the leader 100 times. And again, we're talking about the same high level of accomplishment, prophecy, connected to truth. They deserved receiving this light, this tremendous, endless light on Mount Sinai. It's so confusing. As I'm talking about, as I'm thinking, it's so confusing. At the same time that they deserve, they receive the merit to receive this endless light that is connected, we are connecting on the light of Shavuot. They received endless. And the same people did the golden calf. The same people complained 100 times, why did you take us out? We're missing the chefs from Egypt. How many people that come out of slavery are looking forward to go back to where they were and missing the food that they were getting in slavery, in bondage? We're not talking here about a physical story. We're talking about us. Where is it that we're in exile? I've read a lot of similarities, and you'll correct me if I'm not saying it correctly. You know, people that are living a toxic relationship, or how do you call it? Like with somebody with narcissist behaviors and whatnot. And when the person finally leaves, quits, or drops out, or whatever you call it, there is that thing in them that keeps them wanting to go back. They have like nostalgia of some aspect of it. You can find a lot of stories and even movies, about, like the typical is that a woman is like in an abusive relationship and the guy only takes advantage of her and is only for one purpose. I'm not going to say the word because there is a child next to me, and, is just in for that. And she knows it, and her friend is telling her, why do you keep on going back? He's clearly taking advantage of you. I don't know, there is this thing in me that keeps going back. You know it. You know that it's bad for you. And you just can't, you don't find it in you. You don't find it in you to just let it go and move on. It is in us, obviously. That's why we say you don't find it in, but it's the only place that we're going to find that strength. It's not outside. So you're going to speak to a friend, to a parent, to your mom, to your dad, to your neighbor. Please help me solve this. Find the strength to overcome this. You're not going to find it out there. The strength is in you. It is just coming to our willingness, a repeated story of the exile of the Israelites in Egypt. First, they didn't want to leave. And then when they left, they complained every single minute why they left and they wanted to go back. Doesn't make sense. It makes sense from a psychologically disturbed, emotionally destroyed level. Psychoanalysts and psychologists could explain that. Why we keep going back to which destroys us. We don't need to be a therapist for that. This is written in the Torah. It is in us. It is ingrained in us. As much as we have the capacity to reveal endless light in this world, it is us. We're not talking about another generation. We're talking about us. As much as we have the ability to connect to the highest spheres of revelation of light for ourselves and the world, we also have equally the capacity to destroy. In one breath, we're talking about the same generation, the people that revealed the light of the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. In the same breath, we're talking about the same people in the same book, the same people that did what? That did the golden calf. Idol worship. Same people. So I'll go back again to the first question of the Zohar. Where is the Egyptian exile in you? Where is it that we settle for less? Where is it that we allow ourselves to be cut off from our divine truth? What's truly going to make me happy? What's truly going to make me love? Love. Make me love. Make me loved and loving. Because the essence of everything at the end of the day is going to be love. Connected to the lower spheres of truth would only lead me to judgment. Okay, guys, what's the truth? Don't lie. What did you do? Truth in the physical reality would only lead to the lower courts of judgment. Policemen, judges, there is a whole portion about it. In the upper world, the highest of the rule and the law is love. Come, you want to say hi? Come. All right, guys. Any question? No, we're good for today. So quickly for the story, and I'll stop the recording for that. It's exclusive for those that joined.